Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another video. Today, our journey takes us into the intriguing realm of the internet's more provocative domains. With the exception of those who identify as asexual, it's safe to say that the allure of human intimacy resonates with nearly everyone, shaping a fundamental aspect of our existence. As society has evolved, our desire for parasocial intimacy has become increasingly prominent, particularly in recent years. As a man navigating his 20s, I found that the digital landscape of platforms like X, TikTok, and Instagram has transformed into a space where butt cheeks, titties, and pretty faces are as ubiquitous as a morning coffee. However, the pursuit of physical and psychological well-being through romantic and sexual connections has encountered obstacles in the modern era. Dating apps and shifting societal norms have led to a paradoxical state in the sex economy, making it more challenging than ever for the average individual to establish or sustain intimate relationships. This difficulty has given a rise to a disconcerting trend, such that individuals so starved of love, attention, and physical contact are willing to pay for these services. While this practice is not new, the influence of social media on today's populace, especially the younger generation, has propelled platforms like OnlyFans and FeetFinder to unprecedented growth. Leading the charge, OnlyFans has become the highest earning user-generated adult content platform, boasting nearly $1 billion in net revenue in the USA alone in 2022. With the allure of substantial earnings through minimal effort, these platforms have attracted a diverse array of individuals from various walks of life. However, as we delve into the depths of this thriving industry, it becomes crucial to shed light on the often overlooked and rarely discussed dangers associated with sex work. This flourishing sector, while offering opportunities, can expose individuals to perilous and at times life-threatening situations. In the following segments, we will explore instances when individuals, perhaps ill-suited for the complexities of the sex industry, find themselves in precarious circumstances. So sit back and try to relax as I tell you their stories. But before I get into it, please show your support by liking the video, subscribing to my channel, and clicking the bell icon to stay informed about my future uploads. Additionally, follow me on X. Your support would be greatly appreciated. And now that the intro's out of the way, let's get into the video. Oh, and one more thing. The following video may contain content that some viewers may find disturbing or inappropriate. The video may include graphic images, strong language, violence, and other sensitive and controversial topics. The video is not intended for children or people who are easily offended. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Please watch at your own risk. You've been warned. The first case I'd like to discuss is one that is very sad and speaks to the perils of plastic surgery. When you think about it, it makes a lot of sense that some women, particularly those concerned with enhancing and preserving their beauty, would turn to surgical intervention in order to do so. Procedures like lip fillers, Botox, breast augmentation, and Brazilian butt lifts are not a new practice by any means. I believe that influences like the Kardashians, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, as well as the growing prominence of these user-generated adult content platforms have turned this niche practice into a perceived prerequisite, resulting in many women set on a career in this industry deciding that their natural looks will not be enough to propel them towards their aspirations. Due to the current state of the social media landscape, we're able to watch some of these women become overnight sensations for simply emulating the ideal feminine figure. Wide hips, combined with a small waist, big breasts, and full lips are biological signs of fertility that men like me are neurologically hardwired to find sexually appealing. However, not all women are built to fit this ideal. So many decide that the only way to capitalize off the market propagated by lonely men is to change their bodies in order to meet these supposed requirements. With the allure of making a comfortable living quickly, many women decide that they will do whatever it takes to change their shape, even if they don't necessarily have the means or the resources to do so, which often result in these women resorting to fast, cheap, and dangerous methods to change their bodies. This is something that is widely practiced for obvious reasons. Why would I get my body done in Florida, where prices for a tummy tuck can exceed $6,000, when I can just fly to Thailand and get it for as little as $2,000? When looking at it from the perspective of dollar signs, it makes a lot of sense, but it's important to note that the countries that offer these services, while cost-effective, possess a significant threat to an individual's health, and there's an increased chance of complications as a result of certain medical standards not being met as they would in America, the quality of the materials used, and the lack of sufficient post-op follow-up care. There are many horror stories of botched operations and deaths caused by these operations, and yet this practice seems to be ever growing. This following instance is what I believe to be a case of desperation and misplaced trust. Christina Ashton Gorkani, born on October 22, 1988, into an Iranian-American family in California, has garnered attention as a beautiful model with a significant presence on social media. Despite the ongoing nature of this case, certain details such as her place of birth and background remain private, which doesn't really matter, as this video does not delve into the intricacies of true crime. Gorkani's rise to prominence was marked by her striking resemblance to Kim Kardashian, attracting over 500,000 followers on Instagram. Her journey extended into the realm of adult content creation on OnlyFans, where she achieved notable success. Beyond her online persona, Gorkani's family paints a poignant picture of a caring and loving free spirit. Described as someone who consistently brought smiles to those she encountered, Gorkani possessed a unique ability to connect with people. Her compassionate nature extended to engaging in heartfelt conversations with children at eye level and actively seeking out those feeling lonely, making them feel special. Despite her outward success and positive impact, Gorkani, like many, had her internal struggles. She underwent numerous surgeries in an attempt to further emulate Kim Kardashian's appearance. Despite this, she remained an advocate for self-love, consistently reminding her followers of this essential aspect of well-being. Unfortunately, Gorkani felt that the cosmetic work already undertaken on her body was insufficient. The following events unfolded tragically, shedding light on the perils associated with unregulated cosmetic procedures. This narrative serves as a reminder of the complex realities individuals may face, even amidst external success and positive contributions to the lives of others. In the case of Christina Ashton Gorkani, it remains unclear whether constraints on resources or a desire to economize influenced her decision to pursue alternative methods of plastic surgery. What is known is that she sought the services of a 50-year-old cosmetologist named Vivian Alexander Gomez. The specifics of why Gorkani specifically chose Gomez's services remain unclear. However, reports from the Daily Post reveal that Gomez administered silicone injections to Gorkani at a Birmingham hotel on April 19th, as confirmed by the district attorney. Tragically, Gorkani's health deteriorated following the injections, culminating in a fatal heart attack in the early morning of April 20th, as detailed in her family's GoFundMe campaign. Silicone injections, a procedure not approved by the FDA, carry inherent risks. The FDA explicitly warns that injectable silicone is a permanent substance that can migrate within the body, potentially leading to severe health consequences, including fatalities. When injected into areas rich in blood vessels, such as the buttocks, silicone can obstruct blood flow to vital organs, resulting in life-threatening conditions such as stroke or death. Moreover, the use of large quantities of injectable silicone for body contouring can produce a persistent and uncomfortable gravel-like substance beneath the skin. It is important to acknowledge the critical importance of consulting qualified medical professionals for safe and regulated cosmetic procedures. Vivian Alexander Gomez, lacking a medical license, faced legal consequences shortly after Gorkani's tragic death. She was arrested, extradited to San Mateo, and charged with involuntary manslaughter and practicing medicine without a license. Presently out on bond, Gomez awaits trial. In light of this distressing incident, my deepest condolences go out to the family and friends of Ashton Gorkani. Considering the variety of strange sexual interests that deviate from societal norms, the majority of them, while strange, can still be considered relatively safe. Some people like feet. Some people like to incorporate shit and piss into their sex life. Personally, I find some of these kinks disturbing and disgusting, but I cannot judge an individual for what turns them on. I, for one, have a lip fetish. One of the first things I look for in a partner is a pair of big, juicy, fat, natural lips, and I can assure you that this part of my selection process will remain unwavering. One of the hardest things to accomplish in this lifetime, especially when you have an uncommon sexual interest, is finding an individual with whom you can explore your sexuality with the sole purpose of achieving a fulfilling sex life. If my understanding of psychology is of any relevance, it is understood that our sexual preferences develop when we are very young, and once they are set, they are difficult, if not impossible, to change. While some fetishes are harmless, there are some sadists out there who find sexual gratification from inflicting pain and suffering onto others. This type of degeneracy can be linked to many discrepancies in a person's psychological profile. The following segment speaks to the dangers of involving yourself with a person whose sense of self-worth contributes to their delusions of grandeur, which can result in them making perilous and oftentimes deadly decisions. Our story begins with a woman named Carol MALTESI. Carol was a loving mother of one who lived in the city of Verona, Italy. She had a job at the Parfois boutique at the Malpensa airport and worked there for an undisclosed amount of time before she was abruptly let go due to a wave of layoffs caused by the negative economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Carol would find herself on the brink of financial ruin when she decided to cut her losses and take up making content on OnlyFans. The platform at the time had gained a significant amount of notoriety, becoming known as a platform with the potential to generate a substantial income in a short amount of time. So it is no surprise that she took this route. Carol would adopt the name Charlotte Angie online, and like many at the time, would find a respectable amount of success and was accumulating a sizable income. Many of Carol's close friends, family, and neighbors would reveal to media officials that Carol's private life was no secret, nor did she find it necessary to be ashamed of it. Regardless, she was seen as a loving and positive woman and a good mother. It was around this time that she met a man by the name of Davide Fontana, a successful banker. He was known by everyone to be a fairly materialistic person, often showing off his fancy suits, eating only at the finest restaurants, and drinking copious amounts of champagne. He relished this lifestyle so much that he became a food blogger. From the perspective of an outsider, he seemed like a well-established and stand-up guy. But one thing was certain about Mr. Fontana. He was absolutely smitten with Carol, so much so that he would leave his then-wife just to be with her. Carol and Davide had a romantic relationship for a while, and during this time, they co-produced some content on her OnlyFans. Their content would feature very rough BDSM scenes, where she would be tied up with Davide acting as the dominant figure. However, being that this arrangement was founded on desire and lust, once Davide's controlling nature and increasing narcissistic tendencies became more and more evident, Carol would abruptly terminate the relationship. Being that, for the most part, they got along pretty well, they agreed to remain friends and also continued making content with each other on her OnlyFans. But Davide, being the control freak that he was, began to follow her around and also would create a phony OnlyFans account, posing as just another fan in order to spy on her. He even went as far as to move into the apartment next to her. One day, while Davide was spying on Carol, he overheard one of her phone calls when she expressed a desire to move closer to her son and his father. But she did not plan to hide this fact and would later reveal this to Davide himself. While he may not have shown it at the time, this enraged Davide. To lose Carol after everything they had been through may have been too much for him and his ego to bear, and may serve as the prime motive for his subsequent actions. A short time later, Davide would use the aforementioned phony OnlyFans account to request 2 very kinky and aggressive videos that involved Carol being tied up to a stripper pole with a bag over her head while being beaten with a hammer. Her reasons for accepting this request remain a mystery, but it can safely be assumed that she simply trusted and was comfortable with him, so she believed she was safe. Due to the lack of concrete information on certain aspects of the timeline, this incident took place in the morning of either the 10th or the 11th of January, 2022. Carol arranged for Davide to come over to film the video that she believed was merely a request from one of her many supporters. The first video was recorded successfully, but the one after that would not go so smooth. While filming the second video, they did as the instructions directed, and Davide cuffed Carol to a stripper pole, wrapped a bag around her head, and duct taped her ankles together. He then proceeded to pull out a hammer and began striking her in the legs, stomach, and gradually worked his way to Carol's head. For some reason, when he reached her head, he began striking her harder and harder until she stopped moving and screaming. In his confession to detectives, Davide would claim that he was not sure why he started hitting her in the head as hard as he did. Regardless, Davide would notice how much damage was done after removing the bag and seeing blood leaking from her. He admitted that she was just barely alive prior to removing the hood, and it was clear to him that she was in unbearable pain. Though she was obviously in need of immediate medical assistance, David told authorities that he wanted to, quote, avoid making her suffer, unquote. So instead of calling for emergency services, he grabbed a knife out of the kitchen and used it to slit Carol's throat and watched the life drain from her eyes. He remained at the apartment for the next hour before grabbing her phone and returning home. The entire scene was captured on David's phone, and he attempted to delete the video that captured the murder. The following day, he returned to Carol's place and took her car, drove to a store, and bought a hatchet and a handsaw. He then returned to Carol's apartment and proceeded to cut her body into 15 pieces. In his confession, he would tell detectives that it took him an hour or 2 to finish cutting her apart. The next day, he placed all the pieces of Carol's body into 5 bags and left them in the bedroom. He then purchased a freezer chest from Amazon, which was delivered 3 days later, and used it to store the remains. After failing to burn Carol's body parts, David decided to spend the next 3 months pretending to be Carol and using her phone to text Carol's friends and family to make it seem as though she was still alive and well. It would not be until March 20th, 2022, when Carol's remains were found at the bottom of a cliff in Valcamonica. Her remains were so badly charred and mutilated that authorities could not identify her, so they reached out to the public. Surprisingly, shortly after revealing her distinct tattoos to the public, the fans of her online persona, Charlotte Angie, swiftly contacted authorities and confirmed her identity. After a DNA test of the bags used to store her remains, the police showed up to David's house. The mountain of evidence against him gave him no choice but to admit that he had murdered Carol, mutilated her corpse, and discarded her remains. He said that it was all an accident and that if he could go back in time, he would undo all that he had done. David Fontana, the 44-year-old Milanese, was sentenced to 30 years in prison on Monday, June 12, 2023, for the brutal murder of Carol MALTESI. In this final segment, we delve into the story of an individual named Bill, known through his online presence on silverdaddies.com. For those of you that are unaware, silverdaddies.com is a platform catering to mature men and their counterparts, fostering connections centered around mutual happiness and sexual satisfaction. Bill, a 69-year-old bisexual married man from Pennsylvania, was a participant in this community, characterized by a candid expression of his desires. Tragically, on May 22, 2017, Bill embarked on a live stream on Chatterbait, intending to entertain a select audience with a personal performance. However, the unexpected transpired as Bill suffered a fatal heart attack during the stream, capturing a raw and distressing moment that unfolded in his home office. While I refrain from delving further into the explicit details of Bill's sexual interests, The subsequent events captured in a video lasting over 20 minutes reveals a poignant sequence of events. It wasn't until the 10-minute mark that Bill's wife, upon discovering his lifeless body, conveyed the anguish and panic in her voice while trying to contact emergency services. The remainder of the recording documents her frantic attempts to cover him and her courageous efforts to administer CPR as guided by the dispatcher, awaiting the arrival of the paramedics. Beyond the tragic circumstances of Bill's passing, the mystery surrounding his full name and background persists. The lack of concrete details raises questions about the nature of his demise. Speculation arises regarding potential motives to shield his identity, considering the sensitive circumstances of his death. Satirical elements in media coverage further complicate unraveling the true narrative. An additional layer of intrigue emerges when attempting to verify Bill's existence on silverdaddies.com. Efforts to locate his profile using available information proved futile, raising the possibilities of misinformation or a fabricated account. The absence of a user search option on Chatterbait adds to the enigma surrounding this case. In conclusion, the circumstances surrounding Bill's passing leave the public with more questions than answers. The lack of clarity surrounding his identity and the events leading to his demise invite speculation and underscore the need for a more comprehensive understanding. To the viewers, should you possess additional information on this matter, I encourage you to reach out via Twitter, as further investigations may yield a more nuanced perspective for a potential follow-up video. And that is the end of the video. Thank you so much if you made it this far. These videos take me a while, so if you enjoyed the video, please express your appreciation by liking the video, subscribing, and hitting the bell icon so you don't miss out on my future uploads. While I love making videos for you guys, and plan to continue making them for years to come, they are not doing that well in terms of views and engagement right now, so anything that you can do in regards to engagement will be sincerely appreciated. I totally understand that it takes time to build a channel from the ground up, so I will not stress about the rate in which my channel grows. My next video will be another storytime video where we will be exploring the battles fought in times past. I will try to make it at least an hour for those of you guys who enjoy falling asleep to stories. Finally, follow me on X. That's the best way to get a hold of me, and I would appreciate seeing you guys over there. Now, with all that being said, thank you for watching, and have a good night.